Hey, what's up guys? Austin back again with yet another long play video. This time we're going to be doing Twin Cobra for the 8-bit Nintendo. Now this is a part of the arcade game by the same name. It's actually an arcade game. And this version was severely cut back from the original arcade version. I'm going to go into kind of how the port went as this long play continues on. We got about 40 or 50 minutes. It takes about that long to complete this game in one go, so we got plenty of time to discuss things like that. But Twin Cobra is a vertical shooter, and it's about as close as you'll get to Raiden or Raiden, the arcade game, however you'd like to pronounce that, on the 8-bit Nintendo. Now, a lot of 8-bit Nintendo shooters are just completely different style of shooters, and this one is very arcade style in that late 80s, early 90s Raiden fashion. Now, Twin Cobra came before Raiden. It actually came, I think, in 87 or 88 or something like that, and Raiden came out in 90 or 91, and it features a lot of the same characteristics, like the big ships that come down from the top of the screen. They shoot three ways, and when you destroy them, they provide you your power-ups throughout the game. And it's the exact same way in Twin Cobra. And in Raiden, the firepower was similar too. Like, there's another one right there. Those little icons there are your actual weapon changes. There's about 4 or 5 different weapons in this game. And Raiden did it the exact same way. So if you played Raiden, or Raiden, however you'd like to pronounce it, Twin Cobra is for you. Now, the NES version of Twin Cobra, it's not nearly as good as the arcade game or even the TurboGrafx or Sega Genesis versions, but it's a solid shooter on the 8-bit Nintendo. It's better than some other vertical shooters out there like Sky Shark. You know, the hit detection isn't as wonky. You can actually dodge between bullets in this game without dying every single time. And yeah, it's a fun game. It's definitely not the most polished game on the Nintendo by any means. It is very rough looking. The screen doesn't scroll entirely smoothly. Some of your movement is choppy as well, and some of the enemy movement is choppy. And really, the music is god-awful in this game. It's really bad. And yeah, it's not the most polished of packages, but it is fun to play, and that's what counts, especially for this kind of game. It's got to be fun to play. That's the biggest thing. So we're actually nearing the boss here, and most bosses in the game are very similar to one another. It's usually, in the first half of the game, it's just one massive tank or massive little ship or whatever, and they move around the screen or they sit in one spot and just shoot a bullet pattern at you. Usually the bullet patterns are very easy to dodge, get around. Usually they'll do one spread of one pattern, then they'll do another spread of another pattern, and then they'll give you a quick second to shoot at them, and just rinse and repeat, and that's how most of the bosses are in this game. Including this one, you'll see him coming up shortly. Now, once you get to the last boss in this game, you actually, you repeat through the game. You go through all the original stages again, although they're slightly modified. They're a lot more difficult, a lot more enemies are coming out at you. And the bosses, you usually fight 2 bosses at the same time, or usually one right after another on your second loop of the game. Now the game, this version, I think it has 5 stages on each loop, so there's 10 stages total. Then you get a pretty cheesy ending screen that's just full of text, and then the game resets, and that's it. It's a very underwhelming game once you finish it. It actually took me a long time to be able to finish this game when I was a kid. Well, not really so much a kid. I was a very early teenager. I had gotten into the Nintendo again. I mean, I grew up with the Nintendo, but when I was, I think, 13, maybe 14, I had a friend drive me to Funkoland, and because I obviously didn't have a car. I was only 13 or 14, maybe even a little bit younger. And I started buying a bunch of NES games again. I had recently reacquired a Nintendo system. I think I must have traded the old one in for another system of the day. I don't remember why. But I started playing Nintendo again, and this was one of those games in that time period that I discovered for the first time. And I remember games like Tiger Heli. I really liked that game back in the day, even though I don't think you can finish it. I still liked it a lot, and I played it a lot. And there were other games kind of similar to that, nothing too special that really stands out. You know, the biggest one is Life Force, but that's just in a league of its own. You can't even compare that to this. It's completely different and better in some ways, not as good in others. It's two completely different types of shooters, honestly. But yeah, we were at Funcoland. My friend was just begging us to leave because he had to go to like baseball practice or something, and I was making him late. And so as a last-ditch effort to find a really cheap game to walk out of the store with, I had already had a few picked out, and I picked Twin Cobra. And back then, Funcoland had all their games behind the counter. You had to ask someone if they had a game. And so you would read their little newspapers, and you would ask them, hey, do you have this game in stock? He'd be like, oh, let me check. And they'd look under the counter, and sometimes you'd have to have these guys check like 20 times before they actually had a game in stock. That's how Funcoland was back then. It's probably good that they changed that, and they eventually put all those NES games out on the floor, and they only kept some of the rare ones behind the counter. So I saw that Twin Cobra was really cheap, and I asked him for it, and he was like, yeah, we have it. And I was like, cool. And so I took it, and when I got home with it, and I turned it on, and actually I had bought an Advantage joystick at the same time, the NES joystick. And so I was playing that kind of arcade style, and I was just immediately blown away with how the game is. And the biggest thing I was impressed with was that it was like Raiden. And Raiden at the time was one of my absolute most favorite arcade games of all time. I had seen it around various campgrounds, family campgrounds my parents and I would go to, and I played it quite a bit. And so I had very fond memories of Raiden, and I had tracked down a variety of computer ports at that time, or not computer ports, but home ports, including the computer version. And then, you know, I would play the Sega Genesis version through emulation and so forth. And yeah, when I played this, I was like, man, this is just like Raiden, and I immediately fell in love with this game. And that was back in like the mid-90s. So I mean, I could already tell back then that it was kind of cheap, it was kind of cheesy, it wasn't as high quality as other Nintendo shooters, but it was still a lot of fun to play just because it was like Raiden. And like I said early on in the video, it's the only game on the system that's gonna come remotely close to Raiden on the 8-bit Nintendo. So if you like Raiden, you should definitely have this game in your collection. Again, it's not nearly as good as the Sega Genesis version, which was a pretty awesome port. It was a little bit different than the arcade one as well. It had some Genesis-esque changes, and the TurboGrafx version was probably the closest from when I played. I'm not sure what other ports there are out there, but needless to say, this game is it's arcade-style action for your NES, and now we're already on stage 3, I think, and I haven't even really talked about how to play the game much. I haven't really even talked much about the game itself, aside from it being like Raiden, and my memories with it. So on a lot of stages like this one, you've got these sort of I don't even know what you call them, but these little buildings on the left and right hand side of the screen. If you shoot them, a lot of times you'll blow the tops off, and you'll get these little icons, these P icons. And the P icons, they actually add up together by the end of the stage when you complete the level, and they'll give you a bonus. And you do get extra lives in this game for bonuses, so you really want to collect all of these. And if you're not sure where some of these hidden icons are, just shoot everywhere on the screen, because when you hit it, your bullets will stop, and it'll also make a slight noise, so you can tell. Just like those battleships is doing the same thing. You can tell when you're gonna blow something off and reveal an icon. You also want to do it as much as you can. Shoot all the tops off that you can, because sometimes throughout the game, I think there's 2 or 3 instances throughout the game where there's actually an extra life as well. And I actually ended up needing these. This run I did is far from perfect. I do really well the first half of the game, and then about, I think, 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through, I really start screwing up. I start dying left and right. And when you die in this game, you lose all your firepower. You're just stuck with your bland, just pea shot. And it's very, very, very difficult to get back on your feet at that point. And that happens to be quite a few times. And I had to play conservatively at that point just to survive. And I do manage to complete this game without continuing. I don't even know if you have continues in this game. I think this is actually one of those games where when you game over, you've got a game over. There aren't any continues. And that's reasonable because there's only 10 stages in the game. It's not like this game goes on forever and ever and ever. So this game does have an ending for those of you that have never completed it before. So just 10 stages, I'm pretty sure that's it, and you can finish this game. So now, along with those P icons, like I said, those green chips that come down from the top of the screen, they just come from the center typically. They shoot out 3 bullets in a spread pattern, and they take a little bit to kill. They usually provide you your power-ups and so forth. Now, one kind of power-up will be your weapon changes or your weapon selection. Now, there's a variety of colors you got there. Well, I'm just going to go by the Genesis color scheme because the NES colors are all like weird pastel colors. You know, another sign that it was just kind of not a great conversion, or maybe it was rushed. I don't know. They didn't make great use of the color palette on the system, in my opinion. So, but that's just me. It's not like Life Force that, you know, that's very colorful and colors pop out and stuff like that. But needless to say, you've got the red eye option that comes out, and that's your default shot that you start off the game with, and that's what I'm using right now. It's my favorite shot in the game because it's got a spread, which can help you out big time, but it's also really powerful. Each bullet that hits an enemy, or like say like a big boss like that, every bullet that hits him counts towards defeating the boss. So if you can get up really close and just pummel them with all your shots at once, they'll go down very quickly. The next shot that I think is my second favorite, and I should have used towards the end of the game, but I don't, I just stick with the red shot, is the blue shot, and it's a true wide shot. It goes, it spreads out pretty much to the entire, I don't know, it shoots out very, very wide, and I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this, or demonstrate it in this video, but if you ever get this game, try it out for yourself, power it up a lot. It's a little dinky at first, but once you get it powered up, it's like a 5-way spread shot, and it's very good. It spreads out much, much, much wider than the red shot I have right now. Next up is that green one, and the green one actually, it's sort of a, what do you call it? Well, there actually looks like there's actually a dark green and there's a light green in this one. The light green one is this sort of machine gun shot. It's a dedicated laser weapon, sort of. It just shoots out straight ahead of you. There's no spread at all, but it's very powerful. But this game, you really want a weapon that spreads out. Mega powerful weapons aren't really all that useful in this game. Or I mean, mega singular straight shot, concentrated firepower in this game isn't really all that useful. You want something that spreads out because there's tons of little dinky helicopters and little turrets that you see right here that are just a real pain in the ass to get to if you don't have a weapon that spreads out. And especially these little red helicopters, they actually pop down to the bottom of the screen and then they hover there for a second, and just that concentrated beam weapon is pretty much useless in that situation. Now, it's been a while since I've gotten this weapon, but I'm pretty sure the dark green one is, it's a weapon that shoots out in 4 directions: forward, back, left, and right. And I'm pretty sure that's in this one. I haven't tried it in a very long time. In the Sega Genesis and arcade versions, it'll shoot in all 4 directions at one time. It's not particularly useful either, in my opinion, because a lot of times you want to shoot sort of to diagonal 45-degree angles. You don't want to shoot, you know, perpendicular, or not perpendicular. You don't want to shoot just straight left, straight right, and straight up and straight down. You want to have a spread shot. That's the most useful kind of shot in this game, and it's pretty much useless in my opinion too. It's not very powerful either. But again, if you ever get this game, you can try that out. For those of you that are really into this game, or have been really into this game in the past, I highly recommend checking out the arcade version on MAME. It's actually, graphics are much more colorful, there's a much better animation and stuff like that. It's also in a vertical orientation, where the screen's taller than it is wide, so you have more dodging room vertically, which is good, and the screen continues to scroll left and right, just like this version and Raiden. And I also recommend checking out the Genesis version. Now, the Genesis version, you actually do get continues, I think it's limited continues, but the game is a lot more difficult. The graphics are a lot better, the sound is a lot better, and that's one of my other complaints of this game, is the sound is just really dinky in this game. It's really, really terrible sound. This game would actually probably have to go, or have to, I don't know, if there was an award for like worst soundtrack on the 8-bit Nintendo, or at least worst soundtrack in terms of sound quality, Twin Cobra on the NES would have to probably win that award. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but it is definitely up there with some of the worst sounding music on the Nintendo. Now, some of the tunes are really catchy. They still duplicated the arcade tunes, you know, the same melodies and stuff like that. So some of the tunes are still fun to listen to. I still like the music. But it's just so cheesy. There's maybe like, I don't know, 2 or 3 instrument parts going on at once at most, and it's just really bad. But still, fun game, and again, like I said earlier on, that's what counts. Alright, now I think this is stage 5 now, and stage 5 is where you pretty much fight the sort of base boss, and the base boss has just a bunch of turrets around him, and he's just got this big sort of like building complex thing you've got to attack, and it shoots out bullets at you too, typically. And so once you get to that point, you know, you're halfway through the game, and I think we are pretty much at that point. Yeah, this has got to be it. Unless I wasn't paying attention, this is actually stage 4. I'm pretty sure this is stage 5. Yeah, this has got to be it. It's got there's these distinct buildings, and you can blow the tops off a lot of them, which is good. So lots of opportunities for big points. I really should have grabbed multiple weapons during this playthrough, just so you could at least see them, because I can talk about them, but it just doesn't do it justice if you can't see what they look like. But as you can tell, this game actually gets kind of repetitive by the time you get to the halfway point, because just a lot of things just continue to happen the same. Basically, all I do is I try to move from left to right, and then back from right to left. Constantly just do a wave pattern across the screen to cover as much screen space as I can to destroy as many of those little helicopters as I can, and any possible turrets that might just pop up out of nowhere, any tanks and things like that. Once you get a lot of bullets on screen, it can get a little annoying. It can get a little chaotic in terms of dodging, because well, there's just a lot of bullets. So sometimes it's also a little difficult to see some of the bullets. The bullets are like this dark red, and like on this background right here, everything is just kind of dark, so everything just meshes in poorly together. There's no contrast, or very little contrast, between the bullets and the background. And if you're not paying attention, you'll run into a bullet that you didn't actually see, but it was definitely there. Your second playthrough, or it's not really your second playthrough technically, but it's your second loop. The game does get considerably more difficult. Those guys, especially those little, I don't know, ground tanks that shoot out 2 bullets at once, they pop out more often, and their bullets shoot a lot faster. So the bullet speed does increase on the second time through. You definitely don't want to get too comfortable, because it does get a little more challenging on the second time through. So, and here's the boss I was talking about. I almost got hit by a bullet there. And turrets, and it seems in this version not all of them pop out. I'm pretty sure in other versions of the game every single one comes out. They may have only been able to bring out a certain amount, maybe due to hardware constraints or something like that. It's the only thing I can think of as to why they wouldn't all pop out. Now, one thing I do towards the end of the game, or not even towards the end of the game, I just start using my bombs just a lot, because I have a lot of them. And I'm not sure if my bonus points at the end are actually multiplied by the amount of bombs I have, like they are in Raiden. In Raiden, you want to hold on to your bombs if you're trying to score really high, because they multiply per the amount of little icons or medals that you get. This game, not sure if that actually happens, and I'm just kind of playing for survival at this point. I'd like to beat the game without continuing or getting a game over, because again, I don't remember if you continue or not in this game. So, just for the sake of survival, I use my bombs pretty graciously towards the end of the game, especially. There's some bosses I pile 3 or 4 bombs on them because all I have is my P shot because I died. So, in order to survive, I use my bombs. Now, when you drop the bombs in this game, they take about a second to come out. They don't pop out immediately. So, if you're in a really tight situation, you're gonna drop your bomb, but don't get too comfortable with it because you still have to dodge whatever's coming at you until that bomb hits. And then it's wise to move into where the bomb has hit, because no bullets or enemies will come into that little area. It'll pretty much shield you. So yeah, here's our second loop. Technically, the level isn't exactly the same. At least I don't think it's exactly the same. It's very similar in terms of, you know, the background, the backdrops, and so forth, the kinds of enemies they toss at you. Oh, I got a little white P icon. I think they appear from this point on. The white P icons, they actually make you invincible for 5 or 10 seconds. Not really useful. I mean, it is later on in the game. I think there's one point on this playthrough where I get it and there's a bunch of enemies coming at me. But right there, it popped out and there weren't any enemies on the screen, so it was pretty useless. Especially since it only lasts 5 seconds, but it is there in case, I'm not sure if they're randomized or not, so, I mean, you might happen to run into one across a more hectic situation. Now, if you pick up one of those weapon switch icons that you already have, you actually get 100 points, so if you're if you're hungry for a score in this game, just remember that. You can pick those up, you get 100 points. 100 points isn't that much, considering that every enemy you kill gives you at least 200. So, it's not big points in the long run. I don't think it's going to make or break your score if you don't pick all of them up throughout the game. I mostly just let them just fly off, because I don't want to pick the wrong weapon. Because if you go for it and it's too late in its change cycle, it might change like right before you touch it, and you'll end up with a weapon that you don't want, which is not good, and especially later on in the game. So as you can see, the bullets are already getting a little bit faster, and they continue to pick up as the game progresses. So we got about 4 more stages after this one, and by the last stage, you'll notice the bullets are just a lot faster. And again, like I said early on, this is where we start getting 2 bosses at one time, so that does pick up the challenge factor as well. Or increase the challenge factor, or I don't know. I've been brain dead lately in terms of just my word selection. I should probably stop drinking. Like, completely. So, almost at the boss. He should be here in just a moment, and I just grabbed that power-up icon. Now, to actually power up your weapon itself, to make it larger, you pick up the little S icons that also pop out of those green ships that shoot the spread shot. And my firepower right now is actually maxed out. It's as large as it can get. Now, I think in the Genesis and arcade versions, it actually gets larger than it is here. So, again, if you like this game on the Nintendo, if you want to play more, but it's better, definitely get the Genesis or check out the TurboGrafx version through emulation. It's Japanese only for TurboGrafx, so you'd have to have a Japanese Turbo Duo or a really expensive converter to play it over here in the US. So I recommend just trying that through emulation first. And then there's MAME. You can play the arcade version through emulation. And I don't think that one ever received the perfect arcade port unfortunately. It received some cool arcade ports. I mean, it got the NES version here, and the Genesis and TurboGrafx, and there might be other versions, like there might be like an FM Towns Marty version or something like that, and or there might even be like an X68000 computer version in Japan, something like that. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it, but I don't think the game ever received an arcade perfect port, unless there was a really great conversion on some of those Japanese computers out there, but again, I don't know. So it's kind of a shame, but I mean, that's more reason to emulate it through MAME and give it a shot. Now me, I actually have a rotatable LCD computer monitor, so what I do in MAME is I rotate my screen into a vertical manner, and I'll play Twin Cobra vertically how it was meant to be played in the arcade. So it's pretty cool. If you have a setup like that, definitely check it out. Even if you don't have a setup, just, you know, download it anyways, try it out. It's pretty cool. And the arcade version is actually 2 players at the same time, in case you're wondering. I don't think the NES version actually even has a 2-player mode. If it does, then it's alternating, but I don't even think it has a 2-player mode, period. The Genesis version, I believe, has a 2-player mode, but it's alternating as well. I don't know why that version they alternated in, and it's not 2 players at the same time. So I'm really not sure why. Maybe there's just a lot of slowdown with 2 players on the screen or something like that. If it was a later Genesis game, I think they would have it would have been 2 players at the same time, because they had figured out the system a lot better by that point, and a lot of those earlier Genesis games were just kind of low cartridge counts, or at least low cartridge sizes, like 8 megabytes or something like that, and the cartridge sizes got a lot larger as you know, the console went on. So as you can see, I already died once, and I'm going to be trying to play it safe from here on out, at least a little bit. I'm still trying to kill as much as I can, because I don't want those bullets coming my way. Oops. You can actually use the shifting screen to your advantage. If you push an enemy off the screen, if you scroll the screen your way, the enemy will no longer be shooting. However, don't move back, because they'll immediately shoot right back at you. So, oh, there's an invincible P icon. So good time to have this one. And there's the S, which is my power up. So now I've got a wider shot. You want to definitely at least get the wider shot, because it's twice as powerful as your P shot, and so that's just useful in itself. Now at this point in the game, I don't know if you can notice, my firing is actually getting, it's not quite as quick and rhythmic as it was early on in the game. My thumb's actually getting really tired by this point. And part of that reason is actually that I'm using a clone system right now. I'm actually using the FC Twin to record this, and the controller I have is an off-brand Super Nintendo controller, because it only takes Super Nintendo controllers. I actually got rid of my original Super Nintendo a couple months ago because it had some issues. It was pretty much busted. It worked, but there were some serious glitches, and so I had to trade in the original SNES Nintendo brand controller with it to whom I gave it to. And so needless to say, all I have controller-wise for the system now is the off-brand controller. I mean, I do have the built-in stock Yobo controllers, but they're not very good either. So I have this Interact controller. I think that's what it is. It's the Super Pad for Super Nintendo, and it's really not all that super. I mean, it gets the job done, but the D-pad is really stiff, and sometimes it's easy to go into a diagonal direction you don't want to. And the buttons have that, it's that convex, that upwards rounded feel that the Japanese Super Nintendo buttons have. And we have those on the American controllers too, but only 2 of the buttons are convex. The other 2, the top 2, are concave. They dip in, and those are usually your fire buttons. And those are just more comfortable to me. And so I'm using these convex buttons on this Super Pad. And because it's an off-brand controller, it also has that really cheap, like knockoff brand plastic feel that's just really hard. And when you push the button, it's just got this hard force. It's hard to explain. It's not nearly as smooth as pushing in the buttons on a standard Super Nintendo controller. So needless to say, by the time I'm at this point in this game, my thumbs are just like, oh god, this is... Please stop. Is this ever gonna end? So... And it would be really helpful to have a turbo controller at this point, which is why playing with the Advantage joystick was great when I originally had this game way back in the day, because I could, if I got tired, I can put it onto turbo fire mode. But I can't do that right now, so. And I think that's actually part of the reason why I die once or twice. Probably one or two of my deaths is because I'm not firing fast enough. Because my hands are tired. But here's, yeah, the bullets are really picking up now. And this is where I definitely try to use bombs to save me and get me out of situations. Once I get a slight spread shot, it's not nearly as bad, for instance, right now. But I'm pretty sure I die again pretty shortly, and I have to start from scratch all over again. The wisest move would have been to get the I remember dying there. That was such a stupid death. That was a really, really stupid death. I went all the way to the left-hand corner of the screen. I was thinking that it could continue to push further, and it wasn't registering in my mind that the screen wasn't still moving, and I got hit by that turret that was pretty much just lined up with me perfectly. Now, this is a point in the game where there are a lot of hidden P icons, and when you only have the P shot, you really don't want to be going for the P icons because your bullets get stuck on them, like you can see there. I think there's an extra life here. Nope. Is there one there? Nope. There's another area that looks like this. There is an extra life. Maybe it was earlier on and I wasn't paying attention. But when you're attacking the little, I don't know, the secret spots to get the P icons, your bullets don't pass through them. So you got all these enemies coming your way, but your bullets are being wasted on these secret locations rather than destroying the enemies to remove all the bullets they're firing at you. So you don't want to be going for the P icons when your firepower is super low, like it is right now. Now this boss is fairly simplistic. He just shoots pretty much where you are, so just constantly move. You can get around his bullets. Not very hard. Most of the bosses in this game are like that. Like you've seen so far, there's only one or two bosses that actually have a spread shot that you kind of have to dodge your way through. A lot of the bosses have a simple pattern like this, where they just kind of aim towards you, and you can just bait them into shooting in certain directions. So, and here's another one, like I said. That is one of the cool things about this game. When you loop it, at least they add other bosses and so forth, so it makes it a little more challenging. It spices things up a bit, I guess you could say. And we're getting close to the end, guys. It's almost over. Well, not quite almost over. I think we got about 10 more minutes to go, maybe a little over 10 minutes, maybe 15, and then this game is over. One of the other downfalls to actually recording this with a clone system is that the video output isn't all that great. I'm definitely looking to get an original NES system very soon. I actually had one last year, but I got rid of it because the box I had was incomplete. I had like mixed off-brand accessories, like an off-brand RF, an off-brand AC adapter. I had only half the styrofoam for the box, so yeah, so needless to say, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sell this package and I'm gonna get another nicer, complete version down the road. And that was the ultimate goal, and I still haven't done that. And because I'm actually collecting NES stuff kind of hardcore right now, maybe not super hardcore, but I'm up to about 180 carts right now, and so it would just be fitting to have a standard NES system. Plus, I think the recording output would be a little bit better through the composite ports on the side of the NES system. when I record the clone system, I get like these wavy lines, and not all the objects seem perfectly, I don't know, just flat like they should. There's like this very slight like zigzag wave that's going through everything, and it's kind of annoying, but I mean, when you're not really paying attention, it's not entirely noticeable. I mean, it's probably not going to be totally noticeable because this is basically a made-for-internet video. If I watch this on a TV right now, it would probably be very, very noticeable. But still, I'm not satisfied with the picture, so it'll be good when I finally get a standard NES console again. And then I need to get another Super Nintendo console as well, because my other one just sort of bit the dust in a way, and I was able to give it to someone that was willing to take it. You'll notice when I'm playing this game, I'm constantly firing, even if there aren't any enemies on the screen, and basically just what I'm trying to do is be proactive. It's kind of the professional way to say it. I'm trying to be proactive. But, some shoot 'em up players in other games at least will be like, man, you don't want to play like that, you know. But this is a very basic shooter. It's not like you get specialized points for killing enemies in a certain pattern or a certain manner. It's basically just move or shoot everything that moves, and that's all this game is. So I constantly fire, and that's to pretty much just destroy certain enemies that just well, they die basically before they even come on the screen. You can put it that way. So it just makes life a little bit easier, so I constantly fire. But that's also why my thumb is really, really tired by this point, and I'm having a hard time firing. Now, the first form in this boss, you'll notice he actually comes down farther to the bottom of the screen, so it's a little bit harder to dodge him when he's at the bottom. This guy, not so bad. He stays up a little bit higher for the most part, so you can just stay at the bottom and constantly just move left and right. Just like the boss prior, his bullets just go exactly where you are, so you can kind of bait him into shooting in a certain direction. And then that'll give you enough time to shoot him a few times. That wasn't a boss where I really needed to use my bombs, so... Alright guys, I'm pretty sure this is the last level, so we're almost there at the end, and I think you're just going to laugh at the ending. I think you're going to also laugh at my lack of skill on this stage. But I have 7 lives to use, and at this point it's just like, meh. As long as I beat it, that's all that matters. I wasn't really too satisfied with my run up to this point. I was just like, whatever. Just try to continue on, just for the sake of continuing, because I definitely don't want to waste this playthrough. I recorded this with the intention of doing this long play, and actually this was actually a series of games I did in one sitting. I actually tried beating Double Dragon in one go. I failed at that. I actually got to the last boss twice and died, which Double Dragon didn't continue, so it was game over. I did Ninja Gaiden 2, which should be the long play I upload prior to this one. So if you'd like to see Ninja Gaiden 2 and see me run through that, you can do that. I actually did that in the same sitting as this one. And then I also did Marble Madness, and after I beat Marble Madness, I was like, man, that took all of 6 minutes to beat. I don't think I'm going to upload a long play for that one. World's longest long play, 6 minutes. No thanks. I'll probably just upload a standard video of Marble Madness and just talk about it and how it plays and stuff like that. And then, you know, that's it. Though, when the game takes 6 minutes to beat, I'm going to have to do like a 2-minute long video. Otherwise, I'll be spoiling everything for those that haven't played it. Oh, man. So, anyways, if you managed to sit all the way through this video, or at least up to this point, let me know. I always like to hear you guys I always like to hear from you guys whether you've, you know, made it through all of my long play videos. Because honestly, these long plays don't get a lot of views. I might get 100 views, I don't know, after the first few weeks of having it uploaded, and then after that, it just dies down big time. Unless it's a game like Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden. I think my Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania long plays have gotten quite a few views because I guess they're popular. They're games people are actually looking for. You know, they're looking for walkthroughs and long plays of. Twin Cobra, no one's gonna be looking for this video. I mean, a playthrough of Twin Cobra is probably like the last thing on anybody's mind, so I guess you could say this isn't a conventional long play. Technically, let's play, as a lot of people like to call them. I don't really like to call them let's plays because, I don't know. It's not like I'm saying, hey, let's play this game, yeah! I'm not really like that. I'm just like, alright, I want to beat this game. I want to show people that I can beat it without dying or without continuing. And a lot of Let's Play videos, you'll actually, a lot of people will die a lot, and I don't think that's much fun to watch, honestly. And they're usually talking while they play the game, and I don't find that to be too interesting either, because a lot of people, they just get in the zone, and then they stop talking in the video, or you know, they just say really stupid stuff. So what I like to do is I like to record the game and beat it. Obviously games that I know I can beat in one go, and then slap the commentary on top like I'm doing right now. It gives me a little more freedom on what I can talk about, and I don't have to worry about dying and looking stupid in the game. Obviously I died a few times, but I at least explained why. And that's the end of the game, guys. Congratulations, your mission is complete. Your success is a mark of your courage and exceptional ability. You have attained the crown of victory, and we hope that your life is full of achievements. That's right, guys. The game hopes that your life is full of achievements. Fantastic, wonderful, awesome, awesome achievements. Like watching this long play. That's an achievement in itself. Just getting through this whole thing is an achievement. And I commend you, listener, who is still watching this video. Okay, that was kind of cheesy, but hey, it fits with the game's ending. So guys, that's it. That's Twin Cobra. Again, let me know if you watch this all the way up to this point, and if you've never played this game before, if you've only played it for a few minutes, I hope you at least learned a few things. So if you've ever had trouble with this game, you should actually be able to complete it without too much trouble now. Just continually spread left and right, or do like wave patterns across the screen with maxed out firepower. I do recommend using the blue wide shot towards the end of the game, because it just covers a lot more screen space, at least when it's fully powered up. It does anyways. And just play smart. If you run out of firepower, I mean, if you die and you run out of firepower, you know, push some enemies off the side of the screen so you don't have to worry about their bullets coming your way and so forth. And with a few tricks like that, you shouldn't have too much trouble getting through this game. So we're at the ending screen now, and with that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off. I want to say thanks for watching, guys. For you guys new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've always got a variety of kinds of videos. I've got kind of like just laid back overviews and casual reviews, and I've got full-on reviews and game specials and so forth. And then I've also got these long plays, which I do, and those basically sum up what I do on my YouTube channel here. So definitely subscribe if you're into that sort of stuff, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.